Live from New York. It's a show that just compared Usher to Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
In a complimentary way.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Nice long career, really good numbers. Not a legend. Yeah. Sorry. It is what it is.
Hall of Fame?
But
he's a Hall of Famer. He's
all very, very good.
Henry McKenna writing, his career, this is Mahomes, has been all about exceptionalism, particularly in attempting and completing throws that no one else in the history of the NFL could make. And yet this year, he's more of a game manager than ever. So, Nick, do you agree that Mahomes is more of a game manager than Purdy?
Yes, because Brock Purdy's not a game manager, and Patrick Mahomes is anything you want him to be, he's the best. Do you need high-flying 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards first year as a starter? I can give you that.
Okay.
Do you need checkdowns? And the defense is daring you to take the short stuff. He won the MVP doing that last year. Like, folks are late to the Patrick Mahomes game manager party because last year his air yards plummeted. Last year, all of it, and he won league MVP. Do you need him to put protecting the football and managing the game first and foremost because you have a great defense? Yeah, he can be the best at that too. He currently is on the longest playoff streak in history without throwing an interception because this is the first time in his career he's had a great defense. And oh yeah, by the way, do you need him to be a scrambler? Great running with the football? Well, the two biggest plays of last year's playoffs were Patrick Mahomes with his legs. So he can be a game manager. He can be a gunslinger. He can be whatever you want him to be. People conflate these two terms when it comes to Purdy or other quarterbacks. Game manager, which he is not, and system quarterback, which he is.
Oh.
So
Purdy, you're saying Purdy's a system quarterback?
I'm saying Brock Purdy is a system quarterback with some gunslinger in him. Brock Purdy is like a homeless man's Brett Favre, miniature-sized. He is going to make some wow plays. He is going to make some what are you doing mistakes and throwing across his body. He is the wows and yikes we've talked about all year. Brock Purdy last year might have been. This year has not been a game manager. Brew keeps showing the stats about tight window stuff. That's not game managing. Right. And I keep bringing up because Brew loves PFF so much all of a sudden. They have him 8th most turnover-worthy throws, which is one of their stats on it should have been picked, but it wasn't or it was. So I don't look at Purdy as a game manager, and I look at Mahomes as a quarterback chameleon that if it demands game managing, he will do it.
Okay. This year, I agree with a lot of what you said, but this year Mahomes has definitely been more of a game manager than Purdy. And we got a graphic. These are some game manager stats, if you will, that would define what that is. It'll be up in a moment. But so here we go. Air yards per completion. That's past the line of scrimmage. Purdy almost doubles Mahomes. Purdy's second in the league in that.
Yeah.
Mahomes 31st. All right, you see the completion. Targets to your running backs and tight ends because a lot of those are check downs and not going far down the field. You see Mahomes way more. Look at yards after catch. Mahomes leads the league in yards after catch this year. 63% of his yards were after the catch.
So I don't think that's game managing if you get yards after the catch.
I think that's game managing. I think those are your teammates have to run with the ball, but that's a short pass that they turn into something. In fact, early in the year, you were using that against Purdy. Like if he throws a 7-yard pass to Debo and Debo takes it to the house,
I
use that against him. So I do think that's you have to have it's on your teammates. If they can't run after the catch, you're not going to have many. But I would characterize that as somewhat of a game managing stat. But here's why Mahomes is not viewed, and rightly so, as a game manager, because he's already shown us how spectacular he is.
Sure.
If this was his first year, people would be saying he's a game manager. But he's shown us how great he can be. And even last year, he didn't dip like this. His yards per attempt were still higher than this, a career low. He still threw for 41 touchdowns. He didn't even hit 30 this year. So this is, to me, like James Harden. And I know he's better than James Harden, but I'm just saying, Harden in Houston was a 30-something point scorer. When he went to Brooklyn, and now you see it with the Clippers too, he became more of a true point guard. Mm-hmm. He still give you 20, 22 points, but he was giving you 10, 11 assists and the third scoring option. So we wouldn't look at Harden in Brooklyn or now with the Clippers and say, Oh, he's just a pure point guard because we know when he wants to and needs to, he can score like anybody else or as well as anybody else. Same thing with Mahomes. We know when he has to, he can put on the cape. But for this year, he has been more of a game manager.
Okay.
So I think people misunderstand though what a game manager is. I'm not talking about you. Like I think at no point do I think if you've watched Brock Purdy this year, has game manager been what jumps out. Jalen Hurts last year, absent the running. His quarterback.
But to say absent the running
I'm saying the style in which that offense was run, and that was Dak Prescott's rookie season.
Oh, yeah,
he was a
absolutely.
game manager. I would argue Daniel Jones last year was a game manager. When you are saying we are not looking for the spectacular, what we are trying to do is avoid the mistake.
Right.
That's game manager. That to me is different than system quarterback, which is the bucket I would put Tua in, the bucket I put Brock Purdy in, which is real. And I know you don't think this question's interesting, but that's the reason I think system quarterback label exists is because they are saying if he were in a different system, he would not have nearly the same level of success. And so that's where it is. As far as game managing with Mahomes, he has, and we can show you the streak he's on, he has totally flipped the script on what he values in the postseason. He now is hyper vigilant with taking care of the football, and it dates back to last season once he got hurt, really, and I think he knew we're not going to be able to overcome some stuff because he might not be as explosive. Now, in the second half against the Eagles, they were. But I think game managing to me is putting a higher priority on avoiding negative plays than making explosive plays. I don't know if you agree with me, Brew. I don't think that's Brock Purdy's MO at all.
Aggressive.
I think Brock Purdy is sometimes too aggressive. I don't think he's a game manager.
And he showed in these playoffs that he can make off-script plays. He can avoid the sack. He can scramble. He made some throws that, like you said, you shouldn't make, and they were completions. So, yeah, the system QB thing is interesting. Tom Brady obviously is the GOAT. And we know he was viewed as a system quarterback even after his first 3 Super Bowls, right? But it's interesting because when he left the system, initially, he didn't struggle, but he wasn't playing great in Tampa Bay. Remember that? And then he worked with Bruce Arians, to tweak it and get it a little closer to what he had done in New England, and the rest is history. So it's interesting because Lamar Jackson, they've incorporated, initially they had the Greg Roman system for him. Now you got a system that's kind of geared toward him.
Yeah, and
Purdy will have to show. We'll see. I mean, it may be years from now before we see him in another system.
See, and I think Brady was viewed more than being a system quarterback. I think Brady was viewed as the ultimate game manager. Or early in his career, until the 07 season, until you had Peyton Manning, who was the ultimate drop him into any situation he's going to thrive, and then Brady, the ultimate game manager. That's how and then Brady proved he was more than that when he broke all the records in 07.
You want to hear the bottom line of that segment?
What?
Starting to come around on Brock Purdy.
Yeah,
you just read through the lines on
it.
it.
The last 2 weeks or week or whatever it's been, he's definitely been a lot
just very fair. It's a compliment. But you're starting to come around a little bit.
He won't view it as a compliment, but
it is a compliment, right?
It's also not true. I've been Mr. Consistency and correct every step of the way on Brock, and we'll see it on Sunday. I mean, it's just don't lob those false compliments.
It's a compliment.
I agree.
You're coming around. He was like, you know what? He's aggressive.
No, he is aggressive.
He makes these tight window throws.
I never see that.
He saw my stats.
No.
He couldn't deny my graphics.
Because
hold on, the stats were the stats were true. They were mine.
Correct.
You nailed
it. But
Dust.
No, we don't.
We do have it.
I understand. But you were alleging that I was saying he wasn't doing that.
But you were.
Last year.
Weeks ago?
This year I've never doubted that Brock Purdy is pushing the ball down the field. I've not called him a dink and dunk guy, any of that. What I have
I'm a little
what I've said is he's throwing to guys who are wide open. And
but how do you make tight window throws if the guys are wide open?
He does that as well, Brew, but a lot of the stuff that I have talked about with Purdy is that this year, and I think we've seen it in every playoff game, is the problems have not been the throws he can't make. It's been the throws he's tried to make that have been ludicrous decisions. And I think that should have bitten him more already this postseason and will on Sunday.
Come on.
Okay.
Drew, would it also hurt Mahomes' legacy, in your opinion?
I don't think it would hurt his legacy. Tom Brady lost to Nick Foles. All right.
Right.
And
Eli
twice
Manning
Eli
twice.
Manning. Eli will probably get
Only
Hall of Fame
because he beat Brady.
Right. That's the only way
Like
he's going to
the
get
thing-
in.
like
He's
Eli-
a mediocre regular season quarterback.
2 lucky catches.
Right.
But
the
so,
ultimate
the
definition
reason
of
Eli
mediocre.
losing to Eli is not considered a huge blemish is because he
Because it
beat
happened
Tom
twice?
Brady, and then and so it's a weird thing. It's a snake eating its
twice,
tail
right.
on
No,
what it
that's
is.
true.
But go ahead.
That's true. So no, what it would do is slow down the GOAT talk.
Yes.
It wouldn't take him out. Nobody would say, oh, he'll never be the GOAT. I mean, there might be some haters, but nobody really would say he can never be the GOAT now. But it would slow it down. If he wins this 3, Nick, and it'll be 3 in 4 years, it'll be 3 in his first 6 years as a starter, not me, I don't think you, I do think there will be some saying he's the GOAT. Some on TV will say he's
who's gonna
already
say
the
that?
GOAT.
Well, no, they will say.
I think there will be I will not. I will
of
not.
course not.
Hold on. But Wilds, what I think you might say is that he has reached the highest peak of anyone. And for some people, that's what they value. Yeah. I know, and it, oddly, for Wilds, it's what he values in a lot of sports things. Yeah, Wilds talks all the time about how he doesn't care about compilations, counting stats, longevity.
Stats. Yeah.
He doesn't care about any of that stuff. But you
care
care about
Phillip Rivers guy?
No, you care about counting stats when it's counting rings. That's the only counting you care about. But here's the thing, and it's very apropos that it's in Vegas. Because we have Patrick Mahomes' first, and likely only, house money Super Bowl. The ultimate free roll.
House money?
Yes, because all of the comments are on tape and documented. We have people for the last 3 months saying, if Patrick Mahomes can get this team and this collection of receivers to the Super Bowl, it'll be the greatest accomplishment of his career. Just get him to it. And it's not just, by the way, I'm not poking at Brew. Brew did literally say that, but he was not the only one who said it. Because this team has been considered wounded and bad at various points of the year, because they were predicted to lose in round 2 and lose handily in round 3, and now, even though the Niners won't accept it, the Chiefs are the literal underdogs in this game as well. Mahomes is in a very weird spot where it is all reward and almost no risk.
Right.
And so where people talk, what I think across sports is not fair is if you walk into a game and you say, if he wins, it's one of the greatest, if not the greatest accomplishment of his career. And if he loses, man, it hurts him. It kills him in that. That's not a thing to me. You know what I mean? So the fact that he's the underdog, the fact that everybody says this is the worst team, the fact that the only person who believed in them was called a homer and he had Chiefs-colored glasses on, all those things, you can't then, because they're in the game, be like, well, if you're in the Super Bowl, you got to win it. Now, I think they are going to win it, and I think that they have a lot of massive edges in this game, but this is a house money Super Bowl for the Chiefs and for Patrick Mahomes.
I kind of buy that.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, it'll slow down the GOAT talk. Some, Montana, I already have Montana ahead of him still, unless Mahomes wins Sunday. But there will be some now, Nick, I think, that will say, well, Montana never lost, but he's been to 4. They both will have been to 4. So maybe it, in most people's eyes, keeps him below Montana.
Yeah.
But
I don't think anybody, but let me ask you this. I agree with you that if going into the game, you have him below anyone, losing the game, he's not going to jump him.
Right.
But you don't think for people, wherever they have Mahomes, if he loses this game, he's going to go backwards. That all of a sudden they used to have him ahead of Montana, and now they're like, no, they don't.
I think it's
where it
impossible
could
for him
hurt?
to play poorly,
And
right?
nobody believes this is going to be his last Super Bowl. But if for some reason it were, and he lost, that's where there's a big difference between 3 or 3-1 and 2-2.
Sure.
But nobody really believes that's going to be the case. But if that were, that would.
Yeah,
it could
and
play a
also
role
that's an
then.
order of operations thing as well, because John Elway, a lot of people think is one of the 5 best evers, 2 and 3. But the 2, and if he had won his first 2 and lost his last 3, people would probably feel differently. But instead, he got rocked in his first 3, and then a decade later won back-to-back, and one of them threw for like $120. But everyone remembers the helicopter.
I like that.
He goes out on top, and so it has a whole different kind of spin to it.
Okay. Time now for the best story in the entire.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
The 49ers social media team tweeted out that Brock Purdy was named the National Quarterback Club's 2023 Pro Quarterback of the Year.
wow.
Now, you might say, I've been watching a lot of sports television and I've never heard of that. You and me both, friend. You're not alone, and you're probably not one of their hundreds of social media followers.
Oh, wow.
Are you
Not everyone's
belittling the
worried about
award?
social media clout
Joe
like
Montana
you, Wilds.
won this award.
Exactly.
Steve Young won it twice.
Our colleague Mike Vick's in their Hall of Fame, as is Kurt Warner.
Can I just
they have
finish?
an annual event
Can I
in
just finish the
February in
read
Scottsdale.
Can I just finish the read to
Oh, sorry.
talk about that? They have a functional website and a logo.
Okay. I mean,
finish the read?
Go ahead. What's your question, Wilds, to Brew? I don't know.
Your reaction to the National Quarterback Club, which is based in Arizona, and that before the 10
He's
o'clock
from Arizona,
meeting,
of course. Purdy.
none of us had ever heard from, but one person wanted in the show.
Hold on.
I'm sure it's a
I've been
nice
to the
organization.
luncheons. What do you mean? I've never heard of it?
I'm going to take it in a different direction. I'm
Thank
not
you.
going to poo-poo the award.
Exactly.
All right? Like Nick said, there's some Hall of Famers in there.
Yeah.
You've been working in journalism for how long? Several
30-some years.
Yeah.
You were familiar with this?
No, not until this morning, but still, it's a legit award.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I want to know, when did they vote? Did they vote since, over the last week or so, or did they vote at the end of the regular season?
You know it's a multiple...
Because here's what I would say. What?
You know it's a committee of people, or how is it voting?
Yeah, I'm assuming it's a committee. All right?
Yeah.
And if they vote, like say they voted a week ago, once the Super Bowl was set, 2 weeks ago, whatever, Purdy's as good as anyone to get it. Wow. Because Lamar, yes, regular season was great, but we saw the playoff struggles against the Chiefs.
Against who?
Against the
Who
Chiefs.
played well in that game?
Well, Mahomes, here's the thing. Mahomes didn't have a great regular season by his standards, and he didn't have a great regular season, period. And so you'd say, okay, he didn't do both. C.J. Stroud, if you want to throw him in, you could.
Sure.
Josh Allen, we saw the playoff failure again. So Purdy had a really good regular season, and then has had a good, you can say it wasn't good. All that matters is you win, and he was the driving force in those comebacks. So I think he's had a good postseason.
I agree.
So I think both things considered.
Yeah.
Dak. You can't do Dak.
Yeah, no,
after,
I think it's
after
great.
the Green Bay game. So
Bro,
yes, this is legitimate.
I
for
agree
Brock
it's
Purdy.
legitimate. And while Wilds might mock their somewhat meager social media following, of the 590 people who follow the National Quarterback Club on Twitter, you know who one of them is? Bobby Stroop. Who's that? Patrick Mahomes' trainer, which means this has reached Patrick's desk, which means the bulletin board, Dusty, the National Quarterback, because Brew's analysis was spot on. The only way he could win it over Lamar is if the playoffs are included. If they knew what had happened thus far and still believe that Brock Purdy, who some people are saying is the weak link, other people are saying is the better quarterback in this game. And by the way, while the board's here, and the National Quarterback Club clearly is, and it's a prestigious institution, as you just said. And while we're here with the board, Marlon Humphrey, our first ever grand opening, grand closing. Marlon Humphrey, I'm being a hater, but the Niners win the Super Bowl by 3 scores.
What?
Guess what, Marlon Humphrey and the Ravens? Here you are on the board, and here you are eliminated because you literally already got eliminated. Our first ever addition and elimination, but we now have a lot of bulletin board material for the Super Bowl. NFL honors tonight, which Patrick Mahomes, Steve Spagnuolo, Chris Jones not invited to. Jed York, Nicky Bosa, the National Quarterback Club, Travarius Ward saying better over here. Oh my goodness gracious. Niners populating that board. Populating it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.